Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're taking on an absolute beast, one of the most famous, brain-bending cinematic puzzles of our entire generation. We're going to decisively resolve an 8-year-old mystery, and we're doing it using direct, hard evidence straight from the film and the cast themselves. So if you love a good detective story and you're ready to have a massive mystery broken down into clear, undeniable facts, you are in the exact right place. Let's get into it. So the grand mystery we're tackling today is, on its surface, pretty simple. Is Cobb still dreaming at the end of Inception? We're going to treat this explainer like a literal detective's case file. We'll lay out the clues, strip away all that internet confusion, and uncover the absolute, objective truth of that final scene. We're going to look at the evidence, analyze the tiny details, and finally put this massive question to rest. All right, Section 1, the great Inception debate. For basically 8 straight years, Christopher Nolan's psychological thriller has sparked some wildly intense debates. And to understand why, we've got to look at the sheer mechanics of that ending. Nolan, being Nolan, kept completely quiet. Absolutely no definitive answers were given. We see Cobb arrive at a house, greet his kids, and crucially, spin his top. His chosen totem to check if he's actually dreaming or not. But here's that brilliant, agonizing twist. He walks away. He decides it simply doesn't matter to him anymore. The final shot showcases the top spinning, but the screen cuts to black before it ever reveals if the totem falls. Those few seconds of film, they fueled countless hours of analysis over whether Cobb actually made it home or if he's permanently lost in his own mind. Okay, let's dive into this with Section 2, Michael Caine's reality rule. For years, we had zero anchor to solve this puzzle. But then, acting legend Michael Caine dropped a secret that literally blows this case wide open. And we're going to use his revelation as the absolute definitive anchor of our investigation today. In a recent interview, Caine talked about his time working on the film. When he first received this incredibly complex script, he naturally had some questions. He literally asked Nolan how to tell exactly which scenes were dreams and which were reality. And to help him decipher the script, Christopher Nolan gave him an absolute unbreakable rule. Nolan revealed that any scene his character, Professor Miles, was in was actually reality. The others were dreams. So, flash forward to the final scene. Let's just look at the raw facts of that moment. Who is standing right there? It's Professor Miles, guiding the children to their father. If Michael Caine is right about this rule, given to him by the director himself, mind you, then this one solitary fact confirms the final scene is reality. Because Professor Miles is physically present, this serves as undeniable Word of God proof. Moving right along to Section 3, Cobb's true hidden totem. Now, any good detective knows you don't just rely on a single piece of testimony, right? We need corroborating evidence. Which brings up this incredibly fascinating question. Have we all been staring so intently at that spinning top that we've been completely blind to the actual totem? Let's pivot our focus away from the top for a second and look at something way more personal to Cobb, his wedding ring. And this brilliantly illustrates something. The data across the whole film is shockingly consistent. Throughout the movie's obvious dream sequences, you can clearly see Cobb wearing his wedding ring. However, for the scenes which explicitly take place in reality, Cobb is not seen with his ring on. Let's apply this super strict visual rule to the ending. A prime example takes place in one of the final sequences where the characters wake up on the airplane. In this scene, Cobb is explicitly not wearing his wedding ring. Furthermore, he doesn't have it on when he's greeting his children in the final moments of the film. Guys, this isn't just some continuity error. It is highly, highly deliberate. It serves as totally separate physical proof backing up Michael Caine's reality rule. Let's move to Section 4 and see how this builds. The logic of transportation. Transportation actually plays a massive role in deciphering the truth of this story. Early in the film, a major rule is established regarding how people travel and experience space depending on their state of consciousness. Remember when they talk about dream mechanics early on? They explicitly point out that in dreams, people just arrive in random places. You never remember how you got there, you're just suddenly poof in the middle of a scene. In stark contrast, reality requires a logical journey. The actual transportation to get them there helps confirm their presence in the real world. Using this foundational information, let's trace Cobb's final steps. We don't just see him randomly manifest in his living room, right? We see a linear, step-by-step progression. We see the plane ride. Then, we see the trip home from the airport. Finally, we see the big reunion with his kids at the house. This strictly follows those logical rules of real-world transportation, heavily supporting the conclusion that these events are all a part of reality. All right, on to Section 5. Subtle visual and audio clues.
Now, what's really interesting about this is that while Michael Caine delivered the big picture rule, the filmmakers also left a trail of incredibly subtle, hidden in plain sight micro-clues for the highly observant viewer. First, let's examine the visual clues regarding the kids. For years, skeptics argued that the kids haven't aged or changed, suggesting it's all just Cobb's memory. But careful analysis proves otherwise. While the children might initially look the same and appear to wear the same clothes, there are actually major physical differences between them in this final scene compared to Cobb's memories. These physical differences heavily indicate that the children are real, living beings, and not just some static, frozen dream portraits stuck in Cobb's head. But while those visual clues require a very sharp eye, the audio clues offer something entirely different. If you pay close attention to the sound design, rather than just the visual of the spinning top, the movie actually speaks to you. I want you to mentally listen closely to those final tense seconds of the film, because here is the hidden audio truth. While the top spins in all the other clear dream scenes throughout the film, the sound of its spinning remains perfectly, flawlessly consistent. It never wavers. However, in the final moments of the movie, literally right before the screen cuts to black, you can actually hear the sound at the top slowing down very slightly. It's losing its momentum, succumbing to the real-world forces of gravity and friction. So the crucial point is, when we take all of these pieces of evidence and stack them together, the big picture is overwhelmingly clear. We have the absolute rule of Professor Miles' presence. We have the absence of the dream world wedding ring. We have the logical progression of real-world travel. We have the physical reality of the children changing, and we have the undeniable audio of a top about to fall. The evidence absolutely proves that this is Cobb's true return to reality. There is absolutely nothing wrong with having a happy ending, and the facts show that Cobb fully, 100% earned his. We've laid out the facts, the rules, and the hidden clues. But knowledge is really only as good as how it changes your perspective, right? So I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. Do you think you'll look at the film completely differently from now on? Knowing all these hidden details, what is your theory going to be as you prepare for your next watch? Keep these clues in mind, definitely stay curious, and thank you so much for joining me on this explainer.